a lot of times the habits that we have they are related to mental health. Right? Some people look really old at 40. Yeah, it's 20 years of bad habits. Saying getting things done is there are no distractions. There are just mismanaged inputs.
Nice.
Hello, everyone. This is Evolving Echoes. I'm Martin and Monica.
I'm Monica. Hi.
Yeah. And we have a guest today, Paul, who is a productivity coach.
Yes.
And this is going to be our main topic today in this discussion. Productivity.
Yes.
Can you please introduce yourself, Paul?
Yeah, hi, I'm Paul Vahur. I'm a productivity coach. I help people learn and implement getting things done methodology.
Nice.
How did you get into this area?
Well, my past, I've been entrepreneur, I've been project manager, kind of a person who kind of needs to organize stuff. So I was relatively good at that, but not as good as I wanted to be. So that was about now 18 years ago, something like that. I was looking around something better, and encountered somebody who kind of asked the question like, how do you be more productive? And he said, go read that book. Getting things done. I have it with me here. So eventually I did. It took me a few years to actually start reading it because I didn't know how to get things done. So I didn't know how to start reading the book. But I read it and implemented it for myself. That was 13 years ago. And it started working for me. So that's really helped me. And after implementing it, I had great opportunity. I went to work to Microsoft. And there it actually proved it very much because Martin, we worked together in Microsoft or in the same organization for a while. And there's a lot of information and a lot of things that you have to do, and a lot of opportunities and a lot of tasks, etc. So this method really proved itself to me, showing that I can survive in that how to say maelstrom or this really intense environment. So.
You said that you tried so many things before, right? So how did you get the motivation to even start this productivity thing? Like sometimes I'm like scared, like, oh, shall I leave this? Because I'm like scared to like start something new,
Yeah, well, I guess, it took me 3 years to start reading the book. So maybe I didn't know the answer back then and eventually I did. So yeah, sometimes starting like a life-changing, or potentially life-changing kind of a process is scary, because I think they call it ego protection, right? Because it could be that you don't want to change yourself because, your kind of ego says like, hey, you're doing pretty okay, don't go messing up stuff, so you don't know how it goes. So that might kind of holding you back of starting the change. But I think eventually I did. Now I'm better at it. Actually implementing getting things done actually was a kind of catalyst for my additional transformations, being more conscious about health, thinking about health, eating, then also meditation, these kind of things, and actually kind of showed me that it might be scary, but it's usually worthwhile. And unless I guess probably there are some life changes that you can do that can mess you up. I don't know. You can start taking strange drugs or something like that. But if it's usually less invasive methods, then usually you don't or you don't join a cult or anything. Then you probably don't mess it up so much. So yeah, I think it's just out of experience. You'll see you'll get the conviction that it pays off to kind of try something new, and have the growth mindset, right?
Exactly.
we are not know-it-alls. We are learn-it-alls, as we say in Microsoft, or used to say.
For sure.
Yeah.
What methods did you learn from that book? You said that you got inspired by reading the book and then you started this productivity thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically getting things done is kind of it's method in a sense, in a way that it's just a series of steps that you need to do. It's very pragmatic. Like it's not so much about mindset, but rather what you do and how you do those things, right? So it's kind of in a short, maybe I can give you kind of the breakdown of getting things done is first of all, you need to make sure that you capture everything that has your attention. So technically it means writing it down, or if you have any inputs incoming, you'll see that they are in a place where you find them, right? So you don't have like, you forget that you have an email address or something like that, and then forget checking it. But yeah, you'll first of all you capture, then you clarify everything, all the inputs that you have, to decide if they are actionable, and if they are actionable, then decide what's the next action and what's the desired outcome for you about that thing. Then organize the results in a list so that you can quickly find it when you need it. Reflect regularly, meaning that you review the lists and then kind of keep the lists fresh and optimal or up to date, and then engage with the world. Just choose the actions that you have in your lists, or maybe some actions come outside as well. And this is kind of the process going through. It's mechanical steps. First thing is writing it down. The second thing is just sitting down and kind of making decisions. Third one is organizing the list. Fourth one is reviewing the list. And fifth one is just now taking actions. What's on the list. So that's how it works. So it's, in that sense, it's that's the methodology in short form. There is a little bit more to it than that, but in 1 minute or 2 minutes, what it was, that's kind of the fastest breakdown. Yeah.
And if I take a list from the thing, right? Do I like make a time for it, like a bit of timeline? When should I finish that work, or how does it work after that?
We are kind of in getting things done. We are agnostic about that. Definitely, there are sometimes some tasks that you need to take time, a specific time, like for example, recording a podcast. We can't do it like on our own time. We need to get all together here, right? But then maybe reading a book that hey, I want to finish reading the book. If there is no immediate time pressure, you can kind of be more relaxed about it when you do it exactly. But if you need to kind of write a report, something with a deadline, then it maybe makes sense to book time for that in your calendar. So we don't really kind of mandate that you have to do it in one way or another. The main thing we want to do is to clear your mind. So we want to get stuff out of your mind. So you're not carrying around what you need to do inside your head, but externalize it, right? So then you can start manipulating it. So or kind of manipulating in the sense that then you can start, deciding of when do you want to do it, etc. These kind of things. But it's getting things done is not very strict, right? It's in like a step like, hey, at 9 o'clock you need to do clarifying. At 5, like no, just once a day. It's best practice is to do clarifying. Whether you do it 9 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock, doesn't really matter. There are probably might be better times for that or not, but we can't kind of mandate ahead that you need to follow this really strict kind of schedule. It's more kind of conceptual level that you need to do those 5 steps: capture, clarify, organize, reflect, and engage. So yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to make a list like in a day what I'm gonna do. Like I get up at 5 a.m. and then at 6 a.m. I'm gonna eat food, and 7 a.m. I'm gonna do this. Like every hour I used to make those lists, but it did not used to last for me like for a long time. Maybe just a day or something. And then if something messed up, then another day I'm not gonna do it. Like I get demotivated, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, like there are some people for whom it works. It's kind of hard to make what I've seen mostly like people in engineering, not like all engineers, but engineering, they are kind of like, hey, okay, 9 o'clock, now I start doing this. Oh, it's 10 o'clock, now I start doing something else, right? Other types of people is they can't be kind of put into that kind of strict framings. They need to be more spontaneous, right? But they still need some kind of structure. It's you can't go kind of totally structuralist. It's kind of a little bit different structure. So probably eating at the same time or waking up at the same time is actually a relatively good idea. It kind of you'll improve your circadian rhythms, etc. Right? But then like, okay, 10 o'clock is the playtime. Well, maybe you get inspired and you want to kind of read book instead, right? So it's that's. You need to find the balance between this kind of really strict structure and more kind of more flexible one. And this is what we don't, that's what we support. You can go either way. You can go really, really highly structured, or you can go a little bit more loose. Yeah.
Making lists is like a very obvious way to like structure your daily tasks, for example, and that's something I do at work, and it really helps me. I don't really do it like when it's not work, like
Mm-hmm.
just my life, and I just remember, I keep things in mind and just kind of go with the flow. But when I'm at work, yeah, I make these lists. But even if you have a list and you have a plan, how do you deal with distractions? Because there are a lot of distractions around here.
Yeah.
That's
What?
a good one.
Yeah. Well, what we say in getting things done is there are no distractions. There are just mismanaged inputs.
Nice.
So basically, what we do is we kind of capture them, right? So we kind of write them down, and where we write them down is usually a place we call inbox. Like you can say like in any new email that you come is also a distraction, right?
True.
Yeah. So, but then if you have the maybe discipline or habit of not checking all the time your email inbox, then like if email comes, stays in my inbox, I'll check every day and I'll see what's there. So then again, if you get a distraction, then first thing is just try to capture it, write it down. Like, oh, if I got a thought in my head, it's like, hey, that's a really cool thing. Maybe I should go do that, right? And then you can write it down. If you say like, well, maybe I should do it right away, then you can check your list. Like I check my calendar, like, do I have time right now to do that? And then maybe there's other options, and maybe you'll go with that distraction. Then it's not actually a distraction. That's a great idea, that you take action on right away. But if it says like, well, I promised to myself or to others to do something else at that time, then write down that distraction and then kind of deal with it later. So it is, there are no distractions, just mismanaged inputs. Yeah.
Okay.
How do I say to myself, like, okay, I'm going to do this later. Okay, if I want to check that email, which is very important, right? But I'm going to do that later because I'm doing something else right now. How do I deal with this in my mind?
So I mean, the situation is that something is kind of bothering you, or
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, that goes a little bit. Some ways it goes to psychology, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like how do you control yourself? I mean, obviously, building habits of in a sense that if you have this regular kind of rhythm of checking email, then that helps over time, right? You kind of know that because one part of your brain is still like saying like, hey, do it now, maybe it's really really important, right? So and then if you kind of see that very rarely you get these really, really important emails that you need to read at that minute. Actually, emails is not something probably that you need to read at that minute. Probably it's better to use like a call or a chat or maybe SMS for that kind of communication. Like if you send an email, that's by definition means that like, hey, if you can read it today, that would be great, or tomorrow, that's great. Otherwise, it's probably the other communication channels where it should come in. But just try it. One option is try, like, if I react to the emails, like, is it useful right away? Or then if I kind of another week maybe try that, I'll wait an hour before I see the email, and which works better. It's kind of a little bit, how to say, training your nervous system of like, because it's a matter of habit, right? You're probably doing it of matter of habit, and then it might be dysfunctional habit, so that you need to get rid of. Yeah.
That sounds like a great insight. I would say that I kind of came to this point, it like organically, naturally, I built this system in my head where if I get an email that includes an action item at work, and it's like, okay, I have to do it, but do I have to do it now? I think I can do it later. So I just flag those emails usually, mark them. So they're at the top, and whenever I go check my inbox, I see that email. And like I always go through these emails that are flagged, and I'm like, okay, let's go through them. And and I tend to do those things usually in the morning, all my communication things. Or I found this hack. So I have a really long commute to my office, and I use public transport. And it's around 50 minutes, I think.
Wow, that's long.
It is. So what I do is I go in a bus, I go through my emails and messages. And if it's something important, I just flag it, and if it has an action item, so I'll do it later once I get to the office. or throughout the day. Or if I can answer now, I can just do it now, and then I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that's really useful, and I really use my time efficiently while I am in the bus on my way to work.
Yeah.
I already do some work, which is really cool, and I save up time. And what I like to do to stay like focused is actually have a certain background, like just put music on and just code. For example, I can code like that for a long time, I think, just with music. I even have tried Netflix.
What?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Video? You mean, yeah.
Yeah, watching like something like as a background.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's very personal. I mean, one
Yeah.
thing when I do coaching, then what I have a person to fill out is cognitive preference assessment.
Oh,
You know, and that's actually, you can, if anybody's interested, go Kairos with K, Kairos Cognition. And I think .com. Yeah, it should be Kairos Cognition is the company. You can, I think it's kairoscognition.com, but you can kind of put into the search Kairos Cognition, and it's what is cognitive preference assessment, and basically how people process the incoming stuff, and people are very different. Some people is basically, we are sitting right now in a studio, there is a building outside, and then one person is something who can hear like somebody like banging, like this. Another person actually, they can't even hear maybe the studio producer, doing something because they're so focused. And you're saying that you were trying the video, and then, I can't say this is good or bad. Obviously, I'm rather kind of saying like it's multitasking is not good. But then for some people, and I don't know, maybe visually it works, but some people it might work or not, and you need to find out for that for yourself. Or you can use the Kairos Cognition, and kind of you can do it for free there. And if you want kind of more detailed results, you can pay $10, and get that. It's kind of worth it. But yeah, that actually helps me to understand person better. And there is like some people who, they need to be, basically, if they want to focus, they need to be in a planned room, right? Because otherwise they're going to start seeing patterns at everything, and they can focus on the kind of work in front of them. And other people who needs to have like an input, visual input. So people are different. Well, my message, reaction to your is that people are different. So it's sometimes a lot of the times I see these kind of advice or productivity advice or hacks of like, hey, I did this doing, everybody tried as well. And there's totally okay to try, but that doesn't mean that it works for everyone, because people are different, like, different
sure.
ability. Yeah.
For sure. But I agree that multitasking is not great.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to add for what you describe of how you work through your email inbox. That's a good, I think it's a good idea. Like if you can focus there and doing the quick stuff really right away. Doing it fast is also a good idea. We call it 2-minute rule. That if you see like an action that this needs to be taken, takes 2 minutes or less, then do it right away. I mean, 2 minutes is kind of, it's kind of not a hard goal. If you take 3 minutes, that's fine as well. Just that you'll get through your email inbox. But one thing I can see where you can improve is that if you go through an email, it's like, oh, I need to take an action on that, and you flag it, and then you'll move on. Then what you have missed is you have missed on the kind of the decision that you made, that you should write that down, that what you should do with that email. And actually it's better to then, write it down in your to-do or task list, that I need to kind of answer that email, etc. Then if you can, in that list manager, link to that email, and then move that email away from your inbox. Because what's going to happen next time you're going to drive home or next morning and the email is still there, you're going to go through that email again. You're going to have your Groundhog Day, right? Like it's like, oh yeah, that email again. Okay, so I still haven't done it, but what was I need to do there? Oh yeah, okay, now I can't do that. I'll move it on, right? Next morning again, until you get that email done. But if you write down that decision into your list and you review a list, like, okay, I know what I need to do, but I can't do it right now. I can move on right away. I don't need to think it through, that email again. So that's actually kind of a place of improvement. That inbox shouldn't be your task list. It's just an inbox. That's where the incoming stuff is. And once you have seen that, you should see it once, and then it needs to live somewhere else, not in your inbox, right? So
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, we aim to get the inbox zero in getting things done. Yeah.
Mhm. I think something that has worked for me is like when my brain or my mind is at clear state, like I
Mhm.
know what I want to do, right? At that time, I feel like I do so many things. Like even though I am not making the list, right? But I already know, yes, today I'm gonna do this like one, two, or three main things, and then tomorrow I'm gonna do this. If I have like clear mindset, I'm like okay, doing so many things at the same time. But if my mind is like is in a confused state, right? I don't know, like I don't know where to start even.
Yeah, well, that's very good that you brought it up, because we call it mind like water, this
Mm.
clear state, right? Or
Mm.
and this is what we aim to achieve in getting things done, is to have as you know much of possible in our time to have this clear mind,
Mhm.
and this is what this going through those steps achieves. And not to get there by accident,
Mhm.
but by intention.
Mhm.
So, and all of those steps, working through them, makes that possible. Um, if you're confused, then what I advise you to do is those 5 steps: capture,
Mm.
clarify, organize, reflect, and then
Mhm.
engage.
Mhm.
This is how do you get there? Sometimes, obviously, you'll maybe need to, and actually, one step is reflect, right? And reflect can be very different activities. One reflection activity is maybe kind of take a walk, take a nap, give your brain a rest. That could be also something you can do there, in that step. But but this is how you get your clear head. And I mean, we talked earlier. I asked you, about your background, etc. And then I'm older, you're younger, etc. So your life is, I mean, in a sense, probably simpler than a lot of your older colleagues or friends or family, right? And you don't have that many responsibilities. You probably have, and you take those seriously, etc. But still, I mean, the older you get, the more responsibilities you take, right? You'll have a spouse, you'll have children, you have kind of, more job with more responsibility, you have hobbies, etc. socially. So if you don't take conscious action on creating that clear space, you're going to have less and less of it.
Mhm.
So this is what we'll try to achieve, and so yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you for bringing that up, that clear
Yeah.
mind. Yeah.
Yeah, I also want to ask this thing, like when I have so many things to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, oh yes, I want to finish this and this also. And then, yes, I know that I should go for a walk. But sometimes my brain thinks that, oh, if I go for a walk, even just for 15 or 20 minutes, I feel like, oh, I'm losing my time. I should not go out.
Mm-hmm.
How do I deal with this problem? Like, I think I have this problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, from getting things in perspective is getting to know yourself a little bit better, right?
Mhm.
In over time, and that doesn't come really fast, but that like in past experience, what has worked for you in that situation, right?
Mm.
What's the best bang for the buck? Yeah, you have this kind of FOMO, fear of missing out, right? Like,
Mm.
I'm gonna go walk, but then sometimes you'll try to do that, and what ends happening is some kind of procrastination
Yeah.
or not doing it very well. So it's kind of knowing that, yeah, well, I would like to kind of do it like a superwoman right now, but actually I'll need to take some kind of rest, So it actually helps me a little bit more. But yeah, so just be aware of what all the options are. This is again, having this clear mind is like, okay, well, I can do those things, etc. Do I have energy to do those things? Maybe it's the question you need to ask.
Mm.
And then it's like, well, physically I have that energy, but I don't have the mental clarity.
Mm.
So okay, well, before you start doing those things, then how do you get mental clarity?
Mhm.
Maybe it's going for a walk, maybe it's taking a nap, maybe it's doing some kind of exercise,
Mhm.
or maybe it's actually maybe watching some funny short video on YouTube or Netflix, right? That would be as well. Actually, for me, it is. It's if I'm working or something, like it's and been working half an hour or something, and then I just want to switch doing something else. I was like, I'm still kind of in that previous task or mindset. Then if actually I'll go to YouTube and find some 5-minute video and kind of some comedy video or whatever, or maybe a piece of short interview, something like that, listen to that, maybe even play some casual game. And then it's actually, that resets my brain to go into the next task. So, yeah. So it's kind of, in a sense that maybe the answer is like, do you have the energy? Do you have the kind of focus to do what you think you should be doing? And if not, then how do you get that energy?
The thing is, even if I watch a 5-minute video, then I feel like, oh, I need to rest more. I'm gonna scroll more on social media. That's like a normal problem. That's why I prefer like not going there most of the
well,
time.
that's the danger, right? I mean, like that's what I'm saying. For me, it works YouTube. If going on X or X Twitter or go to Instagram or something like that, that's very dangerous. I'll actually sometimes for my work I need to kind of look up somebody on Facebook, and I open the feed and it's like, oh, well, look at this post, really cool, etc. So like 10 minutes later, why am I not on Facebook? I was doing a research and close to Facebook, like, oh crap, that's why I went there. So the dopamine, right? Dopamine rush in those tools. So you'll need to find exactly what actually works for you. So maybe those YouTube kind of, I have my own YouTube kind of feed and I go there and then it kind of works. So but I mean, like they are working really hard at everywhere in Google and then Facebook and everywhere and X to get us hooked on those things.
Well, they are made for consumers.
Yeah. I have another question that is not just about the daily tasks, but for example, there is a big task that takes certain amount of time. Like, let's say you're a student and you're writing a thesis, right? So, like, technically you have one term to write it and, like, do all the stuff. And so the question is, how do you motivate yourself to do this, to do something like this that needs to be done? And, like, because you cannot just do it in one day, right? And sometimes it feels like I have time, and like, so that's like a more complex task.
Long project.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is two maybe things we can say from getting things out of perspective. One is kind of break it down into smaller parts, right? So it's not like, hey, write a thesis, but rather like, hey, do a research and review those 2 papers which might take you an hour or something like that. So really need to know what's the next action, something that you can finish in one sitting, so that's one thing. But the other thing is also great, like a kind of, and I reviewed actually the short interview I did in Startup Day, and I mentioned it there as well, is to do this long-term kind of planning as well. It's like, okay, well, I have this thesis here. Why am I finishing thesis? Well, I want to get a degree, right? Why do I want to get a degree? Because I want to get a good job, and etc. And why do I want to get a good job? Because I want to have kind of good life and resource, etc. So kind of go in that level as well. That you motivate, the motivation behind, doing the thesis, right? And then start coming down from there. Okay, well, what do I need to, in order to finish the thesis? And then it's like one is the next step, which you can finish maybe in 1 hour or something like that. And there might be some intermediate steps as well, like, okay, well, I need to kind of first of all complete the research, that's going to take me 10 hours, right? So I'll break that down maybe to 1 hour chunks or whatever. You don't need to kind of do it the whole planning right away. You can do it, but you don't have to. But at least what's the next step in research, right? And then after research, I'll need to kind of do some brainstorming and I actually never written a thesis, so I don't know all the steps myself. But that's the way you do it. Like you'll see like this. It lives on different levels, like really high level is I want to have a really good life, and that's why I'm, getting a degree and et cetera, et cetera. And then somewhere in the middle is thesis, and then you go kind of closer and closer to actual activity, So it kind of helps to think that kind of hierarchy true for yourself, rather than kind of like, it's like I'm doing a thesis for some reason, and it's really hard, it's kind of like I'll probably need to sit 20 hours in this room to finish the thesis, right? Like, that's setting yourself up for failure because you don't have motivation, and then you are putting in front of yourself impossible task. practically impossible task, right? Yeah.
I think while doing these long projects, one thing that I think is good is also having an accountable partner, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Who can, like, maybe after doing one task, they can review it, or we can talk about what happened, if you did or not.
Yes.
And then move. Like, I think, like, for instance, I don't want to go to the gym, but I like when someone goes with me to the gym. Like, and then we do
Yeah.
work out together, right?
Yeah. That's I mean, absolutely, that works. Again, it's individual, so
Yeah.
it's universal. I'm personally kind of the person who kind of finds something new and kind of does it on my own, right? So it's actually, yeah, it's and then luckily I have my clients who want somebody else's help. So it's kind of like nice finding matching. But yeah, but definitely try worthwhile trying accountability partner, somebody who's doing the same thing, but what you need to do is you need to be yourself accountability partner, right? So that's actually kind of, we don't kind of frame it in that way in getting things done, but in practice that's how it plays out. That's actually, you'll do the reflection, you do the reviewing of your list, like, okay, well, it's kind of, one thing is you have like your acting self, the part of you that's doing things, and then there's the other part which is kind of reviewing, like, hey, well, how are you doing, right? It's kind of sounds a little bit like schizophrenic, but we are not like one unit. We're kind of part of several parts, and then at some point you need to kind of review your life of how I'm doing, the other things you need to do, right? And then these, at least the reviewing part can be accountability part for the doing side of yourself.
Basically, the self-reflection.
Self-reflection, yes, yeah. Well, yeah, it's the cheapest one, it's like it's cheapest way of reflecting. You can ask other people, and then that usually it comes some kind of cost, right? So
for sure.
Yeah.
And about this Pomodoro technique, like, sometimes it works for me for 1 or 2 days, and then later it does not work for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are a lot of these little tips and tricks, like Pomodoro, or there's the Eat the Frog, right? Trying to do the really hairy or hard task at the first thing in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, if those works, that's fine. It's not kind of it's not kind of the core part of getting things done, but it's something you can add to that, right? We were talking before, like the time blocking. I was talking like, hey, at 10 o'clock I do this, 11 o'clock. That's called time blocking, right? Again, it works for some people, doesn't work for other people. So, but it's worthwhile kind of trying it out. What works for you? But yeah, what I'm mostly about is creating this overall structure, of capturing everything, clarifying it for yourself, organizing, reflecting, regularly, and then kind of engaging from there. So yeah, in that sense, that's the difference between what a lot of other kind of productivity things are, is that, as far as I'm aware, getting things done is the only methodology, right? Like a end-to-end way of doing it, and it's not a closed one system. It's like open. You can add things there, and we don't say anything about really motivation. I can advise on that, but getting things done doesn't really say any motivation. We are talking everything about mechanics. How do you do it, right? So how do you do practically? Yeah. So definitely, see what works for you when it comes to particular kind of techniques.
Are there any methods that you thought would work for you, but they did not work for you later?
I mean, like parts. Well, time blocking doesn't work for me. It's like time blocking, meaning that I block out time that at that time I will do this thing on my own, right? That doesn't kind of really work for me. So. Pomodoro technique I haven't really tried. I have a really good sense of time, so a kind of internal clock or something like that kind of, I can, if I know something needs to happen in 20 minutes, then usually like 90 minutes and 30 or 45 seconds are like, okay, yeah, it's kind of time. I don't know where it comes from. It's like it's not that I'm counting seconds in my head, but rather some part of me counts and kind of like, hey, now it's the time. So maybe that kind of, maybe this, for some other people, they lose sense of time. They don't track it so well. So then actually having this kind of external device that kind of tells me like, oh, now it's 20 minutes, then it's really helpful. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, nothing. Maybe it's a lot of those things are in the past, maybe 12, 13 years ago, etc. Already don't remember getting old. So I've kind of found a way that really works for me. So yeah, less experimentation, but sometimes I try something new. But yeah.
Do you use some sort of tools for that? Like, or
Yeah.
do you just prefer writing? I think you prefer writing.
Writing?
Writing, making a list.
Yeah. Well, I mean, definitely. In order to have a list, you need to have it in external tool. It can be on paper. I just have like a note paper in front of me just in case something occurs to me and I can't like act on it right away. Then I can write it down. But I have my lists on a computer or in a tool, and then actually. A lot of people kind of in productivity, what you can see sometimes it's and it's called that people get really fascinated by tools, and they get really into tools. It starts from actually I know some people who are really into fountain pens. And they're like, wow, this is really see it how it goes, or really nice pens, it's like and it goes all the way, down to tech, high tech stuff like, hey, I have this Notion set up where it's like if I say to AI, then it creates that list, etc. These kind of things. It can go if it's really toxic, this kind of behavior. We call it productivity porn. That you're kind of really kind of focusing on kind of this tooling, and that can go that can go. I wouldn't say wrong. You really can't hurt yourself, but you kind of focus on the wrong thing. You're focusing on tooling. But coming back to more practical level, then it's like just regular list managers are really good. I mean, and there is Microsoft To Do. There is Google Tasks, there are Apple Reminders. If you are in any of those ecosystems, these are tools that are freely available to you. There are kind of paid tools such as Todoist, in kind of which is platform agnostic. Then there is OmniFocus, which is an Mac-based tools that you can get, and you can make Evernote work, you can make OneNote work, you can make Excel work. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's like it doesn't require some really specific tool or really kind of great technical skills. It's just and I have clients who do it in a paper notebook. That kind of works for them. So definitely need a tool, but it's more about knowing how to use those tools rather than specific tools themselves.
Where do I get the motivation if I like have zero motivation? For instance, right now I have, maybe not now, maybe after this podcast, I feel like, oh, okay, I recorded a podcast today. I have already done the things. So now I want to have the motivation to start something new, but I have no energy to do it. Maybe even tomorrow, maybe I procrastinated, right? I have no energy to do it. Like, how do I get the motivation to start something new?
I don't know. What I can say as a productivity coach is, sometimes I help people, when I'm doing coaching, and they, in a sense that I'm helping them to set up the system. I'm not helping to do them their work, right?
Yes.
But they come up sometimes like, hey, I have a conflict with a person. What should I do with that? And I have experience of maybe resolving conflicts, etc. But I'm not an expert on that. So then I ask a question is, what's the desired outcome for you? Well, in your case, like, I want to have a motivation. Well, okay, then what's the next action? Okay, maybe I'll go and research what do I do if I don't have a motivation. So this is what I would advise you to do, right? So and probably there are maybe motivational coaches, etc. Probably it takes self-reflection to figure it out. What's actually happening? Maybe you need a rest. Maybe it's just a question of rest. Maybe it's a lot of time is people are procrastinating, and they, in a sense that, and the reason procrastination is very different from my perspective is that we come back to the thesis point, right? So I need to write a thesis, but I don't have the motivation. Well, you wrote yourself down that you should write a 20-hour thesis, Obviously, you don't want to do that. Who the hell wants to sit down 20 hours and do that? Obviously, don't want to do it. Break it down to smaller parts. Maybe that helps to unlock the motivation. You are procrastinating because you are confronted with too big tasks, or you are confronted with confusion. You don't know actually what's the next action needs to be done. So this is where I can kind of help. But there might be different reasons for not having a motivation. But I usually see, if you kind of implement the Getting Things Done methodology fully, I was talking about those 5 steps, but there's also, and I mentioned those kind of asking those whys, right? These higher whys. Like if you don't have that clear why, it's just, well, like if you don't know your big why are you here in this planet? Why are you doing something here? Then it's obviously you don't have motivation, because I'm not no. But if you start figuring that one out, then that doesn't come like that you'll find it in 5 minutes. Probably it might, the process might take you longer. But once you figure it out, like, oh, well, I'm here in this planet to do this, and I vision this kind of future for myself, and then coming closer and closer to the actual reality, then it's easier to find motivation. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe for me, it's I remember having those kind of moments in the past. I don't really have had those in the last 5-6 years. Hopefully thanks to that. I guess I don't know for sure, but it kind of sounds plausible to me, because I know what are my goals and what are my vision and what are my big whys. So
I think on understanding the final result of the things that you're doing, I think that kind of like motivates me also. I think like what's gonna happen in 5 years. Yes, I want to get there. That's why I'm gonna do this task right now.
I would like to share a couple of discoveries that I made regarding this motivation. For example, it can be something related to daily routine, like doing dishes. Final result is you're gonna have an empty sink. Wow, exciting. But I think in these situations, what helps me is just to start something, just one small thing, wash one plate, and see how it goes.
I think that's one of the things that is said by this book, Atomic Habit or Tiny Habits. That's the book, right?
I think the
Tiny
book
Habits.
is called Atomic Habits.
They're both. There are two books:
There are
Tiny
two
Habits and Atomic Habits. Yes.
I think
don't
I
know
read Tiny Habits.
Yeah.
And then they were saying like, do one thing at a time. Like even though it's a small thing, do it. And then
sometimes what helps is, for example, if you go to gym, but you don't want to go to gym, what helps is just to go outside, and I think it will change your perspective. I've had a problem with gym actually. So last year I really wanted to regularly do physical activity and my fitness and my health and so on. But so there was this what and why, right? So and how. So why, I know why. It's clear. So this how was, I think, the problem. So I thought for some time maybe I'm the problem, like I don't have this motivation to do this, although I know that I need to. But the how was the problem, because the regular gym wasn't really working for me. That wasn't for me. So I started doing something else, something very specific, not exactly gym, but I went bouldering. I started bouldering, and I was like, this is so cool, and I really enjoy doing this. And yesterday, I just went there alone. Like sometimes I just go there alone. So usually I go with my friends, but sometimes I go alone, and that's totally fine for me. Like I don't need a lot of motivation to go bouldering. I just need some rest, and then I can go. But I think if you do something that you really enjoy, you don't really need motivation. You just have it by default.
Yeah, and maybe I'll say that what you need to do is to find listen to yourself, and you can listen to yourself if you have a clear head. We talked about a little bit earlier as well. Is that if you are in Estonian, there is a actually nice saying, and I don't know what's the English equivalent for that, but it says "pea on pulki täis." So it's kind of says my head is full of sticks or full of stuff, right? So it's actually if your head is full of stuff, kind of different kind of thoughts, like whatever, like I need to buy milk and why I'm so bad at math and blah, blah, etc. If you clear your head, then actually you can better listen to your kind of inner voice, your intuition, and kind of listening actually what has your attention. So and then sometimes it takes discovery of what actually works for you, what kind of exercise works for you. So and so happy to hear that you found that works for you, and that can change after a while, right? Some hobbies kind of and how to say, they complete themselves, or they exhaust themselves, and then you find something new, and sometimes some of the hobbies doesn't exhaust themselves. You can do it forever. But yeah, listening to your inner voice, and that's why I'm saying, like, what has your attention? This is actually the key question we start with. What has your attention? And then you're going to start exploring from there. Like, well, I don't have motivation. I'll pick on you a little bit here. I don't have a motivation. Okay, what do I want to do about that? Right? Okay, what can I do? Or maybe I'll go and research. Maybe I'll go ask people. I go around. I'll ask the productivity coach. Where do I get motivation? Right? So and you'll search until you find the answer. So it's always like, what's the next action? What's the desired outcome? You'll always have that, like, unless you're clinically depressed or in something like that, and then there is probably you need professional help and these kind of things. I'll just kind of lost the train of thought that you were talking. Oh, you were going to a gym, yeah. So that's that kind of really need to figure out what works for you and what not, and keep your head clear and be available for your inner voice, or have room in your head for your inner voice to come out.
I think like some people like just start something new, right? Even though they are not interested in that thing, but I think if they start something new and they are not like passionate about it, I think it's not gonna last for a long time. So maybe it's better to start something that you are passionate about. For instance, you like going to this bouldering thing because you thought that, oh, I like doing this thing instead of gym. So you like went there consistently, right?
Sometimes you don't know if you're passionate about it. I had no expectations, and I just tried. And then later I discovered that, oh yeah, this is really my stuff. Like, I really enjoy doing it, and I'm also good at it. And like I feel like I have a potential, brings me joy. So it's kind of like I didn't know beforehand that I'm passionate about it. It was more like an exploration. My friend invited, so I went for it. So I would say being open for things it's a good thing.
Yeah, try something new. Yeah. One thing I actually I've thought a little bit ahead before coming here as well, and what my something I want to share, is think about. Yeah, we were talking about like, why are you here, etc. Like looking into the future as well, and something that got me really well into exercising and training was thinking about my future. So I'm currently 48, and it's a little bit on the old side. I don't feel that old, but I mean, like it's still, I mean, like 70s and 80s are not that far off anymore. So, and I want to be really kicking ass still then, like in appropriate way at that age, but thinking about like what do I need to do that, right? What kind of skills do I need to have? What kind of health do I need to have to do that? And then realizing that the health and then I'm going to have at that time is the results of the habits that I'm having right now, and then starting building those habits. Not so much that I'm I can't make it happen being healthy at 80 right now. This is going to happen in the next 30 years, for me. But what I can do is like making sure that I have the habits, both exercise wise, eating wise, like mental health wise, is that I'll have those habits. And this is actually what happens to everyone, is that you have some habits. You always have habits, right? Some of the habits are good, some of them not good, like especially when it comes to eating or maybe drinking or using drugs, something like that. Like and after a while these habits have a result, So being clear, like what kind of habits do I have right now, and what kind of results I'm going to have 10 or 20 years right now, and can I create habits that pays me off in long term. And going exercising, going to bouldering is one such habit, and maybe you'll pick up some other sports, but you have the habit of doing sports, right? So it's it's a lot of people see like, oh, some people look really old at 40. Yeah, it's 20 years of bad habits, usually. Yeah, obviously sometimes there is also lack of luck or being unlucky or getting a D, something like that. But I think 80% is the habits that we have, and a lot of times the habits that we have they are related to mental health, right? Because they are coping mechanisms, you know, like
Sure.
like using alcohol, etc., these kind of things, just to kind of get peace of mind or something like that. And then maybe it is best way to address it some other way than to use alcohol. But anyways, so maybe the message for your audience is kind of start thinking about what kind of habits do you have, and what kind of habits do you need to have in order to, in the future, when you're 40, when you're 50, when you're 60, to do the things that you want to do, rather than like being in a bad situation health wise or relationship wise or work wise, etc. So hopefully that maybe give you some motivation. I'm not really sure. You'll have to try yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we will try and then we will know.
Yeah.
That's really deep, you know. The things you do, the habits right now that you have is what will shape future you.
Yep.
Yes.
And that's something that I personally don't think often about.
Yeah.
But that's like so true.
Yeah. Well, you found it out 10 years earlier than I did.
Nice. So yeah, like for sure I would like to, like at your age, I would like to be able to do most of the things that I do right now.
Mhm.
So that means I have to do certain things certain way. So I still can do those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what's one requirement for that is having that awareness, that you do that. And awareness is, well, I can say be aware, right?
Mhm.
Or in a sense that also takes, and this is actually what the way getting things done has helped me. It has created this awareness. It's kind of helped the awareness in a kind of more mechanical level, that I actually cleared my mind. So I had room to think about that. That's what happened to me 10, 12 years ago, right? Started thinking about, okay, well, what the hell am I eating? And what's kind of what's the best thing to eat, right? So, and I started thinking about it and experimenting with different things. And found a way that works for me. So, but if you're stuck in your everyday and your head is full of sticks, yeah, pulki täis, then it's kind of really hard to kind of actually you'll just kind of always putting out fires rather than what we want to say is that stop putting. I mean, you should put out the fires, but also kind of start thinking how do you prevent future fires, and it happens on a practical level that you need to kind of do.
I have this thing. Sometimes I tend to think like when I am on the deathbed, right? What I'm gonna think about myself. Did I actually accomplish all the things which I always wanted to do or not? I think sometimes when I think that, I feel like, oh yes, I do need to do that thing because I do not want to regret in the last minute of my life, like thinking about, oh, I didn't do that, I didn't try out this thing. I think that's kind of like motivates me, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's a version of thinking.
I don't know if it's
ahead.
positive or negative thing.
Yeah. I mean, and I think practically speaking, like this is really helpful. But then there is like a big gap. Like, okay, well, if I'm dying, I'm 80 or 100 years old. Now I'm 26, right? So it's like, well, there's a big gap in between there. Like you need to kind of, it might be like, well, I don't know how those 2 points are connected. Right. So I'll go and try different things. But I think that helps thinking about the future a little bit. At least a little bit. It is helpful, So it's coming to you anyway. So yeah.
I do the same,
Really?
but a bit differently.
How?
I ask myself, if I am to die tomorrow,
Oh.
am I gonna be happy about the things I've done? Like, am I gonna be fulfilled about my life? And that gives me a sense of prioritizing things.
Yes.
What really matters and what things I really want to do, and what things don't matter at all. But some people make us believe that they do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we tend to copy, follow, or kind of imitate the people that we admire, and then that's how to say normal, healthy behavior. But then also kind of realizing that nobody's perfect and nobody's exactly like you, and they have different circumstances. There is some things you can copy from them, and other things you shouldn't copy from them. So yeah, That's tough, you know. It's like I've also had my idols and think like, oh, they are perfect people, and it's like, oh wow, they do this thing kind of thing, like, oh, they're not perfect, but then realize after, and it's like, oh, they are bad people, and then realize, no, okay, that part was great, and the other part was not so great, you know. So and then yeah, and that's the way it works.
Yeah, it's the matter of perspective.
Yeah.
True.
Yep.
I think, yeah, that was a great discussion.
Yes.
Let's wrap up for today, maybe.
Yeah. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing these insights with us, and I hope you had a good time with us.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. That's
And,
great questions. Thank you.
Yeah, we could definitely do something like this in the future.
Yep.
Yeah, happy to come again, and you know, we'll I think there were some questions we didn't get to, right? So but I was really happy with the conversation we had. So
yeah,
so I would say so. Yeah, great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you for inviting me. Yeah.
Coming here.
Yeah, cool. Subscribe, comment,
Yes,
likes.
Bye.
Thank you.